Hey, it's Dr. Amanda with Straightsmile Solutions, straightsmilesolutions.com, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about a wolf in sheep's clothing. Specifically, I want to talk to you about how to spot that your child's orthodontist or dentist is PE in sheep's clothing or private equity, aka, you know, a good, I think the last checked, about 17%, and you can do the research. You can ask Chad or Grok or whatever. What percentage of dentists work for private equity, group practices, or own their own practice? So there's different buckets, and if you're not a healthcare provider, you may not know this stuff. So long time ago, dozens of years ago, or when I first started school, the vast majority of dentists had their own practices. That was just that was the whole point. You got to have your own shop. That's the whole reason I went into dentistry over medicine. Even though I had the grades and the scores, I could have done whatever I wanted to do. But I knew that I have more autonomy and I have a better lifestyle. So that's why I chose dentistry, specifically specialty dentistry. Of course, you can see I'm doing something totally different, but I still have my own lifestyle, my own autonomy, and work for myself. So that's all I wanted. And I still think it's interesting. But in any case, now I think that last check, over 50%, 50%, either works for private equity or works in a group practice, which means you don't get your own say. You might get no say, some say. You might be a W-2, you might be an employee, you might be a 1099. It completely changes everything. Um, and then the other half own their own practice. But I think that's last I checked. And I think it depends. Certain areas, like urban areas, you know, suburban areas often are a little different than, places way out in the middle of nowhere, are more likely to be owned by an actual dentist. So the more suburban you are, the more likely that, because the real estate's so expensive to rent or to own, that, the reason why people go into group practices or PE is because you can have shared expenses and it lowers the overhead. And they can also handle aspects. I mean, now more than ever, dentistry it's not just running a business and fixing teeth. I mean, there's so much that goes into HR and management and marketing, and it's pretty much impossible for a solo dentist to spin all the plates at one time. So, I mean, that's why. But a lot of times you don't know that the office is PE. You don't know. It is disguised to look just like a happy family dental practice owned by the dentist. So let me give you some tips on knowing if it is. Um, and to be honest, even medical practices, I'm very cautious now. I look into everything before I jump in. So okay, so let's go over this a little bit. How to spot a wolf in sheep's clothing. So, and there's some PE and some group practices which are lovely, but not all are. And there's some private practices which are horrible. So, but there are risks because you have a lot less rights and a lot less control. Okay, so how do you know if the child's orthodontist is secret corporate? So private equity firms use a strategy called friendly dentist model. They keep the original trusted local doctor's name on the building. They don't make a lot of changes so moms never realize a corporate came in. So and so, Dr. So and so may have started the practice, 10, 20. He may have been there for 30 years, but even my own medical doctor did this about 5 years ago and things really changed and not for good once the PE came in. I noticed the difference, just in terms of just how it was run. But yeah, they can come in, you will not know, and it changes everything. So first of all, if you want to check, the easiest way to tell, honestly, now with AI is you can just find out. But you can look at the website footer, go all the way down, very, very bottom. You might see something that says powered by, affiliated with, or partners of, and then a corporate name. It has to be on there, but it's usually in super tiny. You might not find it, but you can ask AI. As well as you might have generic looking patient portals. So if your online booking link, bill pay portal, or digital intake forms look pretty generic, it might be, that. In addition, you might see, I can tell, honestly, when I look at websites, just because I go on see so many doctors' websites. Whenever I talk to a doctor, the first thing I do is look at their website. And there's certain fonts and logos where I'm like, photos where it's on everybody's. I'm like, oh, that's corporate. I already knew that. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a corporate office. Interesting. Who knew? Of course, obviously, the most obvious thing is going to be seeing different staff. If you have the same front desk, same back office, same people every single time for years and years and years, and not just 1 year, I'm talking like 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. It still could be PE. But usually when PE comes in, they make changes slowly, and they'll start moving people in. Or to be honest, they just don't compensate people as well. So eventually the front office leaves. But they don't leave immediately because often this is booked into a contract where they can't. or they work things out, or they pay them really well for the first few months and they don't leave, and then suddenly their new payment structure comes in. So you won't see anything dramatic initially. It'll be a slow trickle over time, but you can get some idea of what's happening behind the scenes. So that's always a really good way to know. Let's see, what else? Let's talk about the why. I think we already talked about the why a little bit. So first of all, it's great if you can merge pediatric dentistry and orthodontics together with general dentistry, because then you have an in-house referral loop. They don't even have to market. They just using their patients. They're not referring them out to private dentists anymore. Everything stays in office. In addition, a lot of times the reason people don't stay is because they get some crazy production quotas. I mean, they set the bar so almost impossible, and then in order to make those quotas without getting punished, you're forced to do stuff that is sketchy, which I never did. I never played any of the games they tried to get me to play, but eventually people just work their way out, In addition, a lot of PE offices get really aggressive on KPIs. So KPIs are key performance indicators. They start making KPIs like how many units of Arrestin did you dispense, which is like an antibiotic that you use for perio. Well, they start making this a reward or like a game or like a raffle, and they incentivize the office to hit certain thresholds with diagnosis. And sometimes when you get paid for seeing stuff, even staff, I mean, it's real borderline. I don't love that. I don't love that at all. So there's a lot of games that go on in PE. And I know because I've worked in PE before, not only as, as a team member, but also as a doctor. So, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about your rights. A little bit more. So keep in mind, you do own your healthcare data. You can always request full copies. You may have to pay a nominal fee, but it shouldn't be more than a few dollars for any type of processing. You always have a right to a second opinion. You're never locked into a treatment plan permanently. You can always get out. Will you get your refund? No, but there's always a way to balance it out. So if you don't agree with the new treatment or anything like that, you have a right to leave. So that's pretty much all I got right now. Hopefully that helps you pick the right orthodontist. But remember, they can sell at any time, but you have a right to leave at any time. So just get some idea of your rights before you get committed to a couple of years of treatment.